Hello everyone. Today in this video I'm going to talk about a commonly used chemical that people use in India very frequently and in other countries which might be using the same product. This is what might be happening to some people who are facing certain health issues and may not be knowing the root cause of their health issue. So the drug I'm going to talk about is called transfluthrin, and transfluthrin is used as a mosquito repellent in India in liquefiers. Usually in recent times, for maybe like the past 10-20 years, I have seen people use it quite frequently in the night time at their homes, and sometimes people even use it for longer than 12 hours in their homes. So, the way in which this drug acts in our body, it usually is a used as a mosquito repellent because it has the potential to kill mosquitoes, and as a result, people use it frequently in their homes in places of India where mosquito populations are high, or during the seasons when mosquito growth is high in India. So, when this drug is in our body, it can lead to different reactions to the drug, especially if we have been exposed to this chemical transfluthrin for a long time. Sometimes even accidental poisoning can happen in children if children by mistake ingest this, but most times, though people are not aware of this, if we have been exposed to this chemical for a long time in our home lives, we have a potential to develop some poisoning from long-term exposure to this chemical in our daily lives. And other times, which I experienced recently, what happened to me was when I was traveling in certain hotels, I have found that if those hotels are not doing their housekeeping properly, then and if they use this mosquito repellent regularly in their environment, what is happening is whatever liquefier smoke that gets dispelled in the air, or the particles of this transfluthrin that gets dispelled in the air when we turn on a liquefier, that air dispelling of the chemical eventually ends up falling on the furniture and floor surfaces of those hotels. And when it has fallen on the furniture and upholstery, if enough of this chemical has accumulated in the sofa or bed or bed sheets, then our skin can absorb large amounts of this chemical when we are staying in such hotel rooms, which can lead to people having high amount of poisoning if those hotels were not doing appropriate vacuuming of their upholstery, appropriate cleaning of the floor surfaces, appropriate cleaning of their bed sheets. And there is another element to it, because in the hotel industry, hospitality industry, a lot of chemicals are used. Those industries that use overuse chemicals or regularly wash their laundry also, even laundry and linen, then also there is a potential to have high chemical exposures, because if people are using these mosquito repellents regularly in their premises, be it in a hospitality industry, be it in our homes, when a certain area of a world or particular area of a city has been using large amount of any chemical in their daily lives, those chemicals, if they have fallen on our clothes, on our bed sheets, on our curtains, especially chemicals like this mosquito repellent, if it's been used regularly and we are washing our linen also regularly, we might not have exposure from the linen itself, but after washing it regularly, what is happening to the chemical that is being washed by us, that chemical eventually goes into down the drain. And if our drainage system has some malfunction going on, or if any area's drainage system is such that all the drainage just goes into the underground water supply of that area, then the every area in the world has some underground water table nearby. Now, if whatever is drained from our sewage either goes down to the sea if we are living somewhere near the sea, and if it's not going to the sea, it's going somewhere underground and essentially polluting the earth and the underground water sources. Now when this underground when these washing effluents are coming from our bathroom and going down the drain, it is causing some underground water supply to get contaminated with these chemicals regularly. So eventually, over a long time of doing such things in an area, especially in a densely populated areas of and cities like Mumbai, Pune, even when I went to these trips, even though these are not densely populated, as densely populated as Mumbai, I had gone to Rajasthan when the transfluthrin thing happened with me, and that was not as densely populated as Mumbai. But because it was a hospitality industry where many people come and go and use a lot of chemicals, their water supply had chemical contamination. So even if they are washing their linens in such water which has some chemical contamination with chemicals regularly used in that area, and if some cross contaminations have happened in the water supply, then even our laundry that is getting washed regularly has the potential to have chemicals on it. So what does transfluthrin do in the body of a human is that it is working through some voltage gated sodium channels in our body. So our body has normally these sodium channels which stay in a balanced state of closing and opening. When the voltage gated sodium channels are closed, no sodium can pass from outside the cell to inside of our cell. But when the channel gets opened, what happens is the sodium from outside the cell enters our cell, and when the sodium enters our cell membrane, it causes an action potential to be generated, and this action potential is like a firing of the cells, which is important for cell muscular functioning. So if this is a cardiac cell where an action potential is generated, it will cause the cardiac muscles to contract, and that contraction allows for the ventricles to eventually get filled with the blood. Now if what happens with transfluthrin is this open and closed stage of the sodium channel that should be alternating in a balanced manner, that balanced functioning gets disrupted by the drug transfluthrin, and this chemical transfluthrin then causes this sodium channel to stay longer in an open state. It essentially prevents the closing of this channel. It delays the closing, not prevents, it delays the closing. And when the closing of this channel is slowed down, what is happening is more sodium gets through into the cell, and when more sodium is getting through, the threshold at which the cell usually fires an action potential, this threshold that was the normal threshold up here gets lowered down, and as a result, instead of having in a span of few seconds just one firing of the cell, there is multiple firing happening. And because of this multiple firing, because more sodium is going through, because the channel is not closed sooner or at the normal rate, because more sodium is there, more firing is there, it can result in cellular malfunctioning. If this malfunctioning is happening in our cardiac cells, it will cause cardiac arrhythmias because more contraction of our cardiac muscles will be happening. And when more contraction of our cardiac muscles are happening, then there will be an increased heart rate. If this thing cannot be normalized back again, the normal sodium channel opening and closing can't happen, then what happens is it can also eventually lead to heart failures in someone. Likewise, if this action potential is firing, more firing is generated in our brain cells, because we have these sodium channels in different parts of our body. So now if this happens near our brains and in our nerve cells, then excess nerve firing can happen, and if excess nerve firing is happening, it can lead to epilepsy in someone. Then there are other minor the firing that can happen in our skin, on our skin, when our skin is exposed to this chemical, and when that excess firing is happening on our skin cells, then it might lead to skin irritation, tingling of the skin, pricking of the skin. So and if it is impacting our cardiac muscles, our cardiovascular system is connected to our respiratory system as well. Some respiratory cells also could be getting impacted, all of which can also result in respiratory failure. So a simple thing that we normally use so regularly in our lives, it is promoted so much by the media, we ourselves been so scared of malaria, dengue and other mosquito-borne illnesses, are used to using these mosquito repellent containing transfluthrin very regularly in our lives. But though people in India use it quite regularly, I am someone who grew up in a family which, instead of using mosquito repellents, when we were growing up as a child, we used to use mosquito nets. So when we would sleep in the night time, in order to get rid of the exposure or the bite, to not have a mosquito bite us in the night time, we would have our whole bed surrounded with a mosquito net, so that no mosquito could touch our hands and feet and body. And as a result, my exposure to this chemical was less while I was growing up, and the mosquito problems that I faced the most used to happen in a city like Kolkata, where the municipality doesn't clear the garbage, whose drainage system might not be as great as Mumbai. As a result, I found Kolkata or West Bengal areas to have more mosquito problems than Mumbai. And as a result, in Kolkata, my exposure to these chemicals were high. And for 13 years, I didn't live in India. That's why my exposure to this chemical had completely reduced when I was living in US. And that's why when I came back to India, I started having some breathing trouble from exposure to this chemical in our daily lives in the places where people were using it. So I stopped using this chemical. But even though I personally have stopped using this chemical, when I went on a recent trip to Rajasthan, what happened was, the hotel, I could smell this chemical in the hotel bed sheets. And not just the bed sheets, when I was sleeping on the bed, when I was sitting on the sofa, my skin was getting irritated and I could smell this chemical. So I hadn't turned on the liquefier at all in the night time in that area. But there was enough of this chemical in the bed sheets, on the sofa, on the window seat and everywhere, that while I was sleeping in the night time or taking a nap in the daytime, my skin was getting irritated with this chemical. And not only was my skin getting irritated, the level of exposure of this chemical on my dress and on my skin and also inhalationally led me to fall asleep sooner than I would have otherwise if I hadn't had exposure to this, because I felt more drowsy and dizzy inhaling this and absorbing it via my skin. Now, in the hotel, I had made a temporary friendship with the neighboring room inhabitants who were also visiting. We had also gone on a short trip together to a leopard sanctuary near that hotel. Now, during that time, I became friends with them. They had a small baby, and I really enjoy spending time with children sometimes. So, and because I was alone on that trip, for me it was easier to enjoy a few hours of talking with a kid. And what happened in the morning of the day, these people who were my neighbors were leaving. The mom, I could see in the couple of days that I had interacted with them, that she was always a little busy and flustered. And because she was busy, I offered that if she needed any help, I could babysit her kid for a few minutes while she was taking a shower. So she decided to use that help because she wanted to pack also while after taking her shower. So she decided, yeah, I'll let you have the kid for half an hour or 1 hour. So while the mom was gone to take a shower, I held the small baby. He was like 1.5 year old, I think, and I was holding him in my hands, and I was walking around in the garden area and in the passageway near our rooms. So while I was walking, because I'm not used to handling a baby for a long time, after 15 minutes he started feeling very heavy to me. So instead of walking around, I just sat on the steps that were between both our rooms. And while I was sitting on the steps, I had to still hold the baby. I was holding the baby, I was babbling to the baby. Sometimes I was chatting with the baby's brother, who was like 5 to 8 years old kid. I don't really remember his age, I've forgotten it. But somewhere around 7 to 8 years old, I think that kid was. So we were having a chat and we were talking to each other. And this went on for about half an hour. But what happened was, while I was also walking, I got tired not only because of the baby, but because the chemical exposure to this transfluthrin had increased my heart rate, and that chemical had absorbed on my clothes, because I had been lying down on the bed for a while, and because of which that chemical had made my heart rate really high. So that's why for me, walking with, and also was giving me a little bit of respiratory problems, because of which walking with the baby was double difficult. It was not just that I was not just used to carrying a baby for a long time, but the second reason was the exposure to this chemical transfluthrin. But what happened with the baby was very interesting, and this is the reason why I'm posting this video, because I observed this and then I later reflected on this. Because I'm a pharmacist, I wanted to know why this happened. So what happened with the baby was, after a few minutes, the baby had also taken a shower, and then his mom had given me the baby for for half an hour or so that I can babysit him. So in that time when he had taken a shower, what do most women do in India is that after giving their baby a shower, they will either apply some, before the shower they might apply some baby oil on the baby, or after the shower some people apply Johnson's baby lotion like stuff on their baby. So both things people usually do in winter time for dry skin, and if not, it is winter time. Even in areas like Rajasthan and Ahmedabad, where these people were from, where temperature could be drier because of desert climate, moms could be applying these creams and oils on their kids regularly. And it's a very common practice I have seen in many households, people doing this either during winter time or doing it during dry skin conditions. So the mom had applied some, I felt it was a baby lotion that was applied on the baby, because while I was holding the baby, some of the lotion also, because I was he was wearing half pants, so when I was holding him, from his legs and from his arms, some of the lotion got transferred to my hands, to my neck, wherever the baby was touching me, right? So while I was holding him like this. So what happened was, that lotion is a oil based lotion, right? So that lotion can easily transfer any lipophilic chemicals from, while the lotion is transferring from his skin to my skin, it has the same capacity to transfer anything on my skin or anything that is absorbed on my dress to him as well. So if any oil soluble or water soluble chemicals are there on my dress, or any oil soluble and water soluble chemicals are there on any of my hand area or neck or face or anywhere the baby is touching me, his oily hands and feet can absorb it without him trying to absorb anything. Just by me holding him and him being in contact with my dress and my hands, he could absorb anything that would be there on my dress or on my hands. So after half an hour of holding him, he started crying, and I also felt his heart rate also go a little bit higher, and I was extremely distressed and scared, because I realized that first of all, a crying baby is also, and he was like trying to not touch my body, so he was like struggling but I couldn't just let him be on the ground, because the ground of that hotel is also chemically infused with this chemical around used in the different rooms, and it wasn't a really clean floor as well. So I couldn't let him just play around in the floor or leave him, but I could see that just holding him was also distressful to him. So eventually he was crying. After him crying for 5-10 minutes, I asked his brother, can you go and ask your mom if she will come, because he's crying and I don't think he wants to be held by me. So her older brother then went inside his room and asked his mom whether the mom was done. So the mom had been done by then. So she eventually came and took the baby. And prior to me holding the baby, I had a conversation while we were going together on the Jeep Safari. While we were chatting in the Jeep Safari, the mom had told me that in the night time, this baby was very restless and this baby was unable to sleep in the hotel. And usually if he sleeps 5-6 hours or 8-10 hours, whatever his normal hours of sleep are, he wasn't able to sleep those normal hours. He hardly slept during the night. And he was very agitated and running around the bed, like moving around in the bed. So this thing struck me, because the same chemical that was causing me to become drowsy and dizzy and sleep longer was causing on this baby. Because if the chemical is used regularly in my room, it is very likely to be used in the other room as well. If they are not cleaning the linens regularly in my room, they're also likely not to be cleaning the linens and upholstery in their room as well. And being a small baby, he is actually absorbing likely more amounts of the chemical from the bed sheet, more amounts that are toxic to him compared to me. So while for me it was only impacting my respiratory and cardiac functions and causing skin irritation, for him it was likely causing double skin irritation than me, because I am a 5 times 10 times larger human being than him. So for him it was causing that skin irritation that was causing him to be restless. But it could also have a potential to have caused his brain cells to be more excited, and luckily he didn't get any epilepsy related problems. But since this chemical is regularly used in all Indian homes, every mother needs to be careful about the use of this chemical in their daily lives, because any regular use of this chemical in our homes daily can cause the same problem of this chemical accumulating on our sofas and beds. And even if we have washed those sofas and beds regularly, even then the chances of exposure from the air also is pretty high. And especially if people use a lot of oil soluble oils, or people use oils sometimes, oil or the baby lotion or even adult lotion, body lotions on their body regularly during dry skin and dry phases. And these dry phases also, ironically, this drug, because if we are exposed to this drug regularly in our life, it can lead to skin irritation and dryness of our skin as well. So it's like because of the exposure to this chemical also, we might be using more lotions, but that causes even more absorption of this drug inside our body. So because of this reason, people need to be careful about what chemicals they are using regularly in their body. And if ever their baby is having breathing problems, sleeping more than normal, sleeping less than normal, having crying a lot, and my mother is not able to understand the usual reasons for crying, and helping him not cry is not working on the child, it could be the presence of these chemicals and regular use of these chemicals that could be impacting a baby's health. And I hope this video was useful for everyone, and it's not just a health problem for babies, but it's a health problem for any adult who may have had increased exposure, any child that may have had increased exposure or long-term exposure to this chemical, which can cause cardiac problems, respiratory problems, epilepsy related problems, breathing problems, drowsiness, dizziness. These are skin irritations, skin tingling sensations, and agitation, because if the chemicals are going to our brain, it can cause excitatory responses, causing people to not sleep. So if you are experiencing all this, think about not using this mosquito repellent regularly in your homes. See if you can change your home environment to keep it cleaner and mosquito free. Ask your municipalities also to not use mosquito repellent sprays regularly, because that adds to the already toxic environment in our lungs and in our body, toxic exposure that our body will eventually stop tolerating when once it has reached a threshold that our body can't take. So because it's a chemical regularly used in our homes, people don't think that it has a potential to have a health harm. But any chemical that is used long term, be it a breathing chemical, be it a drug as well, has the potential to cause a health harm after even 10-20 years of it never having caused any health problems in anyone. And babies are more sensitive because they are smaller humans, they are newer to these chemical exposures, hence its impact on a baby can be higher, while adults may not have as higher impact of a chemical exposure than what a baby could be having. So please be mindful, please be careful, think about changing and replacing the use of these chemicals in your lives. One natural alternative for solving the mosquito problem in any area is to keep clean homes, keep drains that are not stagnant, ensure that if there are stagnant drains around our homes, we close those drains or allow for good water flow in those drains so that mosquitoes can't grow in those drains. And also try to grow mosquito repellent plants like marigold and citronella, and there are many other varieties of plants and flowers that are repellent to mosquitoes. So if you want to get rid of mosquito population near your homes, try to grow more of those plants in your house. And I hope it was helpful. And anytime you have any questions on what I posted here in this video, please drop a comment. Thank you.